Review for Madam Webb, directed by S.J. Clarkson. So, just watched this movie, and I have to say, I thought it was absolutely terrible. It's so terrible. It's so bad. It's almost unbelievable how bad it is. Because, sometimes you hear a movie's really so bad, and you watch it, and you're like, well, that was okay. It was okay. This, this is so bad. I couldn't believe they made a movie out of this. Out of the plot, the story, it's all terrible. The acting's bad. It's shot just blandly. I guess it's in focus, so you got to give the cinematographer that. It's laughable. It's like the opening is laughable. These characters that are in spider suits in the trailers, never in their suit. Dakota Johnson's never in a suit. Even at the end, but I think she is in a flash forward. Like, at some point, this will happen. These three characters will have spider powers. By the way, they have no spider powers. They have nothing. The three girls. Dakota Johnson does. And then in the future, there'll be a payoff, and there'll be awesome spider women, and they'll be fighting bad guys with Dakota Johnson, even though she's blind. And like, why not just make that movie? Why not just make the movie where they all already have their powers, and then they're fighting this guy Ezekiel? But I don't know. This movie is shockingly bad, is incredibly boring. Incredibly boring. This is one of the most boring movies I've seen in years. I thought Black Adam was bad. It's like, I thought Thor the Dark World was bad. I thought, I don't really like Iron Man 3, but that's a masterpiece compared to this. At least that has Robert Downey Jr. in it. Dakota Johnson seems like she doesn't even want to be there. At least Iron Man 3, he's trying. I just think that the villain in that movie is terrible, but anyways, I thought Age of Ultron was not great. So this is worse. This is worse than all of them. I really hated Black Adam. I really hated that movie. I'd rather watch that any day over this. At least that movie has like an action scene or two that's decent. At least that movie has Dwayne Johnson in a superhero suit with other superheroes who are in their suits who have powers fighting, bad guys. This doesn't have any of that. This movie boggles the mind of why you'd make it. It's like Sony wants to make these movies of the Spider-Verse, but not have Spider-Man in it. I think that's a problem right there. Not have Spider-Man in it. Beyond, who knows anything about Madam Web? I was asking my friend who knows a lot about, who loves Spider-Man and read the comic books, and I'm like, do you think that Madam Web is a good character to build a movie around? And he's like laughing, like, no, of course not. And he's like, yeah, the only one, Venom kind of could. And it's like, I agree with that. I thought the first two Venom movies were just kind of mediocre to bad. They're way better than this. Way better. At least Tom Hardy's trying to make a good movie. Morbius. The people who wrote Morbius, I guess some of them wrote this. That movie's Morbius is better than Madam Web. Morbius is better than Madam Web. It's incredible. And that movie's boring too, but at least it's a vampire story. At least that movie, like the skeleton of the plot, I could see making a decent movie. Not a great movie, but a decent one, because he has this disease. His best friend has this disease too. He's his whole life he's been telling his friend, I'm going to cure it. He becomes a successful scientist. He tries to cure it. He thinks he cured it, and then the friend injects himself with the serum to think he cures it, and they both become vampires. And then one of them kind of embraces the darkness, the evil of the vampire, and Morbius doesn't really want to, and then they fight each other. I mean, at least that's something. At least they both kind of have vampiric powers, and they're fighting each other. I mean, the movie's terrible, but I'd rather watch it than this. This movie is incredibly just terrible. So, the opening of this movie is laughable. It opens up. Dakota Johnson's mom is in the jungle. She's totally pregnant. She's like 8 months pregnant, maybe. She's about to have her kid, but she's in the Amazonian jungle. Sounds kind of dangerous. It kind of so it opens up where she's in the jungle and she's trying to find this special, I just call it a magic spider. This magic spider that gives you that has she's looking for curing properties, because she did have they do explain why she's there. I'll give the movie that. Because her kid in her womb has this rare disease, and she's going to try and cure it with this spider venom. So she's looking for this spider, and then she finally finds it out of nowhere, and she's with this guy Ezekiel, who's like her security, I think. And then she runs up to him while he's rummaging through her stuff. He's trying to take pictures of her stuff. And she's like, I found the spider. I found the spider. And then she's like so happy. And then he pulls a gun out and he's like, give it to me. She won't give it to him. So there's a struggle. He ends up shooting and killing her. Like, I care. Like, we're supposed to care. It's like, who cares? Even the actress in this flashback, whatever it is, the mother, she seems like she doesn't want to be there. No one wants to be there. And then, out of nowhere, these magical spider people that kind of have, Spider-Man-esque costume on show up, and they grab her, and they start jumping from tree to tree. It's almost like it's Indiana Jones 4 with terrible CGI, jumping from tree to tree. They go to this magical pond in this cave, and then they release a spider that bites her to save her and the child. And it just ends up saving Dakota Johnson. I did find it funny that they show up like 5 seconds after he shoots her. He runs away with the spider. Why not just like they were struggling for a while? Why not show up and beat up Ezekiel? Why not do that? Why not make it so that she isn't shot? No, of course not. They don't do that. Ezekiel kills the mother for the magic spider. Okay. And by the way, this movie is almost 2 hours long. 2 hours long. It's just incredible. Like, you would think if you were making this movie, you'd aim for like 140. Like, there's not enough plot here for like a 60-minute episode. I was just watching some X-Files episodes. They have way better plots and stories in less than 60 minutes, like 50 minutes, 45 minutes, because you have the commercials and stuff. Much better than this. Much better characters, even side characters that get introduced. This movie's almost 2 hours long. of boring nothingness. Complete. Oh God, this movie is. I thought it was like there's no way I mean, you watch the trailer, it looks bad. But there's no way it could be as bad as some people are saying it is. It is a 3.8 on IMDb. I think it deserves lower. Give it a 1. Deserves a 1. It deserves a 1 because it's mostly in focus. Okay? And there was some music going on. Whoever did the music, they were kind of trying, especially the last act, they were kind of trying to make it epic, but it's not. It's not, though. Um, then it kind of cuts to New York. She's a paramedic with, what's his name? Ben, who is that Ben, you know, Uncle Ben, Adam Scott. I thought he was okay. He's kind of the only actor that I was like, okay, I didn't mind him. He's okay. And Mike Epps is in this too. Where have you been, Mike Epps? He's in it for like 5 minutes. But anyways, he's a paramedic too. She's saving these people. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter, but um and then there's the villain Ezekiel, who's also um um in New York. He apparently got bit by that magic spider. He has spider powers. And he then is having these visions of these 3 girls that are going to kill him in the future. And he's freaking out. He's dating this girl, and they're in bed, and he wakes up, and then he's yelling, "Where's my spider? Where is my spider?" And then he's murdered by these 3 spider women and they're in bad cosplay. Very bad cosplay. I mean, I've seen better cosplay at Comic-Con, definitely. And Ezekiel says, "I come from nothing. I come from less than nothing." And I'm thinking, how can you come from less than nothing? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Um, so then he starts to try and hunt down these spider women. Dakota Johnson begins to get these powers where she can see like a minute into the future. Pretty terrible powers. I mean, like just a minute. But, um, and so then she sees that he's gonna kill them on a train. So then she saves them on the train. He starts chasing them in his spider outfit. And then she drives them to outside of the city. She steals some poor taxi driver's car. And she saves them, drives them out outside of the city to the forest, I guess in upstate New York. I don't know. Leaves them there so she could go read her mother's journal about the spider. She then goes back. Anyways, she goes back to them. They're in a diner, like partying. And then Ezekiel shows up and tries to kill him. She saves him again. And then she gives him to Ben, whose sister's going to have a child. I wonder whose child that is. Of course, it's Peter Parker. And um, she then goes back to the Amazon to find the spider people, which is laughably dumb. because it's like, how are you gonna find them in the middle of the Amazon? But she does, of course, like right away. And the guy explains what's going on. And then, so incredibly convenient. I mean, plot, armor, ridiculousness. And then she then goes back to New York. And this movie's sponsored by Pepsi also, because there's multiple scenes where she's holding a Pepsi can or a Pepsi product, which she doesn't drink. Um, all of this culminates in an end battle, next to a giant Pepsi Cola sign where they're fighting each other. None of the other women have powers. She taught them how to do CPR. Um, but she taught them how to do CPR, so that they learned that, which they use later. And there's this fight, and it's trying to act like it's epic, but it's not. And then she's like, "Oh, they're not going to defeat you. I'm going to." And then she does, and um, a giant Pepsi sign falls in the guy's head, and he dies. And then she falls into the water, and it's also like a fireworks factory. And then the fireworks are shooting off, and then one hits her in the face, so she's blind. So that's how that happens. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. Just terrible. Ezekiel's a terrible villain. I heard he's not even really like a villain like that in the comic book. Just stop making these movies. Kraven the Hunter has to be better than this. It's gotta be. But uh and then S.J. Clarkson, the director, directed like a prequel to Game of Thrones. It was incredibly expensive, but it was terrible. So they just threw it away. They should have thrown this movie away. I mean, it's like, I think it's terribly directed. It's incredibly boring. Mike Epps is in it for like 5 minutes, and then he gets killed. Um, what a waste of Mike Epps, like likable actor. And Adam Scott I thought he was okay. He's the only actor I kind of liked. Everyone else seemed like they didn't want to be there. They're just collecting a paycheck, So but yeah, it's terrible. It has a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's gonna make about 100 million worldwide. Um, so it may be the worst comic book movie ever made. I'm really debating that, because at least Batman and Robin is stupid fun. Batman Forever is kind of dumb fun. Um, X-Men Origins Wolverine, at least it has Hugh Jackman. This has like nothing. Not even a good fight scene, nothing. Because there aren't really any powers except for Ezekiel. So, anyways, I'd just avoid this movie. If you have to choose between this and Morbius, watch Morbius, which is crazy. That's a terrible movie too. So, but yeah, it has a 3.8 on IMDb. I think it deserves lower. Hopefully, it goes lower. And yeah, total disaster. I couldn't believe how boring it was. It's the most boring movie I've seen in many years. So, um, but yeah, that's about it. Avoid this movie. It's absolutely garbage. So, all right. See you next time.